Hello and welcome to MMA Crips Fighting Talk. On today's show, I'll be speaking with Bob the Beast Sapp. Bob has been competing in mixed martial arts for near on 12 years now and has a background in NFL, K1, pro wrestling and acting. With that, welcome to MMA Crips Fighting Talk, Bob.
And hey, let me tell you, you're one of the first people to get it right. Bob the Beast Sapp.
I know my mixed martial arts, Bob.
Yes, and that's when I do appreciate that, which is, and we'll touch a little bit, which is why this will be one of the last, if anything, Beast interview for 2014 before Project 2014, I should say.
Well, that makes us proud, Bob. That definitely makes us proud, Bob.
Hey, awesome. Love it. So, yeah, there's a little bit of this past few years, it's definitely been on the mind and on the topic or the top crypt, if I should say, for, what's really been going on with the Beast. Is he throwing fights? Is he getting beaten up? Is he gotten too many punches to the head? A tremendous amount of everything from kind words to criticisms to even, hey, is this guy okay? Is this Beast alive? What's going on? To briefly recap, we did have, only one or maybe I'd say two straight out plain hate interviews, one of which is from one gentleman by the name of Ariel Helwani, and he's been kind of struggling a little bit. So the last thing we want to do is kind of punch a man when he's down, because we no longer are we've never really hit anybody that's defenseless. So really, he's to briefly recap, he kind of was making fun of me, this Ariel Helwani, and saying, hey, hey, Beast, you're no longer fighting. You're you're a nobody, and look how great I am. Meanwhile, as he is looking at a Wikipedia iPad and has cartoon backgrounds in his wannabe.
He's wannabe basement.
Yeah, some show topic, and it was truly something that I had a surreal moment. Because I really, for that first time, I really saw what was passing for the style for MMA reporting, and which was terrible. And from what I understand, he actually lost his job, so no longer is that really going. So I never really followed if he even got it back or what happened with that. I can tell you that no one is really following him that has any common sense at all. So, I actually sent him a Twitter and said, hey, you know what? Things are going rough for you right now. I heard that, he's kind of lost his job and, if that's what you want to call it. So he lost I have no idea if he's even making enough to call it a revenue stream, but he lost that. And anyway, this was something that he had told everybody is very important to him. So I just said, hey, listen, I know that this is going bad. All you have to do is humble yourself and everything will come back, because he's just doing too much off of ego.
Yeah.
You take a look at what he actually had. One thing we can compare is like the Mike Tyson interview, right? So Ariel Helwani had Mike Tyson on his show.
Yeah.
And let's look at the views of where Ariel Helwani is only talking in the views of Mike Tyson on his show. And then you look at the views of Bob Sapp talking against Mike Tyson. Look at how many views I've got on YouTube, and just check out how many views Ariel Helwani has. So we can compare those two things of just talking. Mine's at over 30 million. His is nowhere close to that, nor even it's yet to even touch 100,000 on that interview. So, okay, you guys, reality versus the fiction. You see what I'm saying? So I just wanted to say, hey, listen, Ariel, things. How about just humbling yourself, earning a little bit of this work, earning yourself a spot, and moving forward? He, of course, responded with, hatred and stupidity. And, and that's okay because that can be his response. It's just, I think it's really quite silly. I think he came back with, look at this, the Beast is ranting about me. Wait a minute, but when you talk about me, when you say anything to, whether you think to my friend Mike Tyson, which he never said anything bad about me, which he would never, because we have a professionalism among friends and a professionalism among people we understand the business, we understand what's going on, and the last thing we want to sell is something that's hate. Mike Tyson and myself, and I'm sure you're included, we've all been humbled by saying, okay, we are no longer what we think, but we need to really respect other people and respect their viewpoints in order for us to grow as people and as a person. So, Ariel, I think he's chosen to go the other direction. And
Could you tell us what he said to Mike Tyson about you, please?
Yes,
I did hear rumours that he was talking shit about you to Mike Tyson.
Yeah, it was quite funny. So he said, hey, Mike Tyson, do you know what Bob is doing right now? He's going all around the country and he's just losing and collecting a paycheck. And Mike said, well, I guess he handles the business the way he wants to. And that's correct because there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into doing MMA, and part of that is my responsibility as a MMA fighter and as someone who is in this business. And plain and simple, the Beast is no showing up. There's no show. How's that? Because no one's buying tickets to show up to watch the ones that only are going in there to fight and say, give me a paycheck, and therefore I knock this guy out. I deserve millions. I'm going home. No one's doing that. You've got to pay attention to people first, be entertaining, and then come back through. And that's what I'm talking about when I say drop the ego, pick up the paycheck. So, as you excel in your life, in your career, you will take on more responsibilities. And, with me having the attendance records already, my responsibility now has to be, I need to take care of these other fighters. They need to get exposure. They need to get paychecks. They need to move forward. Now, Ariel Helwani and he's far from alone. After Ariel Helwani did this interview that we're talking about, and this is even before the Mike Tyson one, we had another fighter whom I thought named James Thompson. I think he's from the UK, yeah?
That's correct.
Yeah, and James Thompson actually came out and was like, hey, look, when a fighter gives up, when he does all of these things, and, James is...
I actually spoke to James.
Said, you just see my losses that I've had since those guys have had their wins and see who's really winning and who's losing. Okay, because what we say in athletics is this. You can't make the club in the tub, which means everyone can say you're great, but if you're far from being in that ring, you're making no cash. You're making no money. That's the same thing as losing every single fight. So, you've got to really have a decision on what it is you're in there to do and when you are in there to do it. And how you are going to measure your business. You are your own business. Measure of success in business, money, period. That's what it involves. That's what it is. Now, if you want to go through and mix and match it and do everything else, you can. I'll go ahead and tell you you're a champion and give you $1.
Well, you mentioned James Thompson. I actually spoke to James Thompson. We actually discussed your fight with him, and I asked him about that. When you actually reversed him and you crucifixed him, you actually got on. He was trying to get back up, and you actually give him a couple of hammer fists. He said they absolutely stung. Well, you mentioned about marketing, basically. That's what you talk about. You talk about a fighter marketing himself. What is a fighter worth? It's not about being a fighter. It's all about everything.
That's right.
If you watch pro wrestling, there's those pro wrestlers who never make it because they don't have the mic skills. They don't have the charisma. You have the charisma. Everybody knows Bob the Beast Sapp. Now, there's a good example here. what I want to show you. If you look at the Bellator Light Heavyweight Champion, Attila Vey, he has about 1,000 Twitter followers. Now, if you look at Quinton Jackson, he has 500,000 Twitter followers, and he isn't even the champion.
That's right. That's correct. And
also, Quinton's probably getting paid about 5 or 10 times more than what Attila is. Not to mention the sponsors and everything else that goes with it.
In his personality, and you know, he's done the movies, and he's continued to excel on these things. And this is true mix. This is one of the elements of true MMA. He's taking a weakness, his age, and all of this, Quinton, and he's turned it around and said, you know what? Win or lose, I'm selling every bit of my entertainment, every bit of this business. I will excel at this. This is what I'm here to do. And Quinton's jamming. He's a great example of someone that's continuing his success. I think what's great is that you've seen him go from UFC, Bellator, to Pride, to all of that stuff, and he's still making movies and doing very, very, very well. He's someone that for this part of the work that he's doing, he's somebody to definitely be idolized and to understand and be respected and to learn from.
Well, we touched upon your interview with Ariel Helwani from 2012. Let's move ahead and dig into that a little bit more. Did you know before the interview with Ariel that he was going to ask you the throw-in the fights question?
No, and matter of fact, so what he did is, you know, I knew that I figured that what he was going to ask me about was, Bob, you've been losing all of these fights, and you continuously are getting booked. You continuously are setting records. However, he wanted to flip it and act like this is something so bad. I'm going to let you know, I'm doing just fine. You know, I've managed to pick up the knowledge that my fans, that the country of Japan and some people here in the United States have given me, and I've actually been able to really understand what that message is. And that message is far from a message of give me a whole bunch of money. That message is, if you just simply do the right thing with kindness and show your value as a person, your entire being, we will accept that sincerity, and we will always support you no matter what, win or lose, period. And that's something that Ariel is unable to understand. Many of these fighters are unable to understand that because of the whole ego thing, because of all of that stuff, you know. And you know, it's just it's terrible, you know. And now, you know, there's somebody I'm going to explain it to the ones that will listen, because some of them are lost and they just would like to know, hey, how do I market myself? How am I responsible? You know? And I showed right after that interview with Ariel, I actually showed kind of how you can even do your own endorsement deal just by eBay and YouTube. And I showed that, and from those proceeds, and I just did that with a small amount of money, $500, and those proceeds, and I actually did that more than one time, but the first original proceed went to Gary Goodrich, which was a great friend of mine. So it was a great friend of mine, and bang, that just immediately went over to him. And I've also continually went and did that for the pro wrestlers and other fighters that got injured. And then went back through, and there was a fan, and there was a human being. She was far from even an MMA fan who was suffering a hard time, and I gave her $10,000. Why? Because it was the right thing to do, period. Does she have to be an MMA fan in order to receive $10,000 for me to say, hey, you're having a hard time, for me to notice that she's having a hard time? No. Am I able to afford to help and give? Yes. Why? Because everyone has supported me for this reason to do that. So I know my position in this planet, and I know my position as a person, and I'm well supported by by the country of Japan, and also by many millions of fans out there. So I'm well supported. So I'm enjoying every bit of it, and much more enjoyment, I assure you, than Ariel Helwani is having. So, I much more enjoyment from helping and giving away this MMA money that I seem to be stealing from everybody, as all the fans are benefiting and everyone's having a great time. Well, he can only know by Wikipedia or somebody's page, because he's yet to get on the plane and walk through anywhere with me and see exactly how I'm living every day, day to day, with the fans and the people and the wonderful smiles that I get every day.
Do you think there was no change in Ariel's mind that day? Basically, he had his view that you was basically throwing fights, fixing fights, whatever you want to call it. And no matter what you said to him, it would not change his opinion. He just wanted to drive home that you was fixing fights. There's no other way. There's no other explanation. He wouldn't listen to the facts that you're popular. His excuse for that, he tried cancelling that out with, oh, well, why don't you go to pro wrestling, Bob, if you're popular and,
right.
You can market yourself.
Yeah, which it's great, too, because, see, that shows you how little journalism he's doing, because I've been pro wrestling ever since I've been in Japan.
Yeah.
So, he's just talking and just asking and wanting to really create a problem. He wanting to sell hate. He's wanting to do all of these things. Guess what? No one's buying it. No one's looking at it. And for him, as long as he's talked about, that means this is great. Guess what, guys? No. There is bad press, positive press, negative press. You've got to learn the differences between all of these, because there is a real big difference. Because if someone's saying your name and it's out of hatred or something like this, that's you can be America's Most Wanted and be talked about, and that's publicity, and that's nothing that you want. You understand what I'm saying? This is far from anyone wanting to have someone talk about that, and that's in the public and that's in the press. So there is a huge difference. So Ariel was doing something very naughty, and hey, he got spanked pretty hard. I did do some parodies on how silly he was acting and everything else, and you can see
we'll get to that soon, Bob. Do you find Ariel a negative person? Like, he gets off on the negativity of news stories?
Absolutely, and this is maybe one of the reasons why they just kind of took him off. And there's no journalism right there, right? Because when you're doing journalism, all you're supposed to do is just report on what is there. And then you can, if you want to give some commentary, you can give your commentary. And usually that commentary is something that's insightful, that shows everyone what's going on, that displays the element of hidden truth, so to speak. Well, Ariel's, you're unable to do that when you're whipping out your iPad and looking at Wikipedia and put somebody down. That's just, you're unable to do that.
Well, I'll get to that in a minute, because there was, I'll get to it now, actually. Basically, he was just showing highlights, ready-made clips of your fights. You getting beat down by fighters, smirking and grinning about it along the way he was. Now, basically, if he watched the full fights, he would have known that you wasn't throwing fights. I mentioned James the Colossus Thompson. No, you actually reversed James, and you got a beautiful crucifix on him, to be honest with you. No, you was trying to finish that fight. You was striking James. You was battling. That's not a guy wanting to throw a fight. And if Ariel just took a few minutes to watch that fight in the full, he would have had no evidence to back up his accusations that you fix fights, that you throw fights.
Here's the problem that everyone kind of gets mixed up, and they get all in this game. They have a feeling that, well, what I should do is fight so hard each time that by the time you get to your third fight, you're so broken in your end. Let me sidetrack a little bit. Now, this is before Barack Obama just gave us the health care, okay? So before that, in the United States, we had to pay for all of our medical bills in cash. So what that means is for so that means for like a simple stitch, that 7 stitches, a fighter may get punched in the eye, 7 stitches, that's going to cost you about 1,000 to 7,000 US dollars.
7,000 for stitches.
Majority of these fighters fight purse. If anything, that's all of it.
Did you say 7,000 for stitches?
Just for 7 stitches. Think of it as either, if you know the doctor and he's pretty good and he's really respectful, maybe he'll help you out for $1,000. But that's going to cost you in cash between $1,000 and $7,000. Okay, period. And anyone who is in the MMA industry knows this. And so therefore you must have an understanding that for example, when I was fighting James Thompson, I actually pulled some nerve or quad muscle.
Yeah.
In which I did receive enough damage to where I damn near walk with a limp. Very, very lucky that there's no surgery required, and to have no reporting, no doctors out there that, other than the SFL, that knew what took place, for everyone to say this is some phantom punch, for all of this stuff, it just shows you how far MMA still has yet to go and how much further they have to go, because that's no reporting, no asking, no nothing. And that is dangerous. However, let me tell you,
you made these points in the interview with Ariel. He just seemed to ignore them. He actually said, well, shouldn't, it's part of the game. It's not part of the game. Why should you stay in there and take more punches and rack up your medical bill when you could just tap out and fight another day? You still fought. You was in a bad position. You was hurt. Why are you not allowed to tap out? Why should you have to take extra punches because you got a bigger paycheck?
Well, I think Ariel is what Ariel wants to say is Ariel's saying, well, you're in here, so therefore, and some of these fighters believe that they're in this ring, so therefore, I'm going to just destroy my entire body, and never will I ever have to do it again. Okay, never will I live to fight again. I'm going to make so much money from this fight. So many millions of people are going to watch me just from this fight. No way. You're unable to make the club in the tub, guys.
You made a very good point in that interview. You mentioned about Gary Goodridge. Is Ariel Helwani, is he supporting Gary now? Is he supporting Gary's family? Well, he's suffering with his brain injuries.
No, and from what I understand, he's giving no money to any of the fighters. He's done none of that. No money to any of the pro wrestlers. No money giving back. None of that stuff. But there's a tremendous amount of, look at this guy. What's funny, he tells me on that Twitter, going back to that Twitter interview, he said, hey, Bob, it's all good. Do your thing. Wait a minute, brother. No need for you to tell me to do my thing, because I'm already doing it and been doing it. So they can, I guess I will be the world's biggest loser. NFL, movies, millions of dollars every year in every job that I've done, which is over 6 different jobs. Yeah, Bob's the loser. Okay. Yeah, and completely retired. Okay, meaning living only off of cash if he would choose to do such, and which, will you see him in that ring anymore? Well, let's see how many zeros come in that.
Do you believe he was trying to call you a loser off your record?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was ready to, he was just ready to, he wants long-term results via short-term gain, which basically means he wants something for, just because I got this MMA show, and look at this, I call it the MMA Hour, and look at, everybody's going to watch it. I'm worth billions of dollars because I say it. I mean, I went through, and I did this I thought I was doing a service to kind of help out some of the MMA fans and whatever, all this in the U.S. and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I look up, Ariel Helwani, and it's funny because, all my friends who are in actual journalism, who are on television actually reporting, they say, we've never wanted to win some award called the Mover and the Shaker. What is that? I said, well, is that an award that's sponsored by my salt and pepper holder right? You know, a mover and a shaker. What is that? I mean,
I don't have a
that's
clue,
claim
Bob.
to fame. You know, they're talking about they're looking to win, you know, all of the journalism prizes and awards and to be, you know, like Barbara Walters or, you know, somebody of this high standards, right? You know, and when they look
Yeah.
back at maybe Howard Cosell, they think of all of these greats that have done in journalism. No one is going, hey, we want to be the mover and a shaker of Ariel Helwani. And, you know, he's got no, it's just terrible to be able to do that. And, hey, if that's something for him, if that's something for whoever who would like to do journalism, if that's an example that they have to use, well, it's great for the real journalists out there because it shows you how easily you can take something over. You know, it shows you how just do your work, be respectful, go through, and trust me, it's gonna work. Yeah, you're gonna have some ups and downs, but you know what? The majority of people, just like the country of Japan, they're going to support you. You're going to do just fine. Just to leave that element alone. Leave that hatred element alone. And, you know, and he's just so sick in the head, he's unable to see it. And
Well, you mentioned about the hatred and he's sick in the head. Now, Ariel did say in the interview that you're not a fighter, but you're an actor.
Yep.
Now, a guy that's had 29 mixed martial arts bouts and, you know, your K1 record too.
Right.
What's your reaction to that comment?
Yeah, you know, I really was quite saddened by that because I knew soon as he said that, anyone who was listening would say, yeah, that's right. Because, see, he has some losses. So, therefore, because he has experienced some loss in his life, he is just a loser. He is so terrible. We should exile him like he's a child molester, like he's a murderer. Look at what he's doing. I mean, what? Really? Are you serious? I mean, you know, and for him, that's how passionate I am about MMA. No, that's how ignorant you are. Because you've given no money to any of these past fighters. You've given none of you're doing no reporting. All you're doing is pure hatred, which, you know, like I said, I have no idea even if he's still on the air, but the overall message is if you are going to spread and do hate and do all of that stuff, you can join hatred anywhere. No one's going to, no, well, I mean, that's far from selling. I mean, come on, guys. We avoid that, okay? We want none of that. We hate the hatred. We leave it alone.
Well, we touched upon the video clips.
Yes.
You know, it seemed to me like Ariel was just trying to humiliate you with them. Did you think he was trying to embarrass you, Bob?
He did. I did think he was making the attempt, but, you know, I'm quite okay with everybody looking at the fight footage and me winning, me losing, to whatever. I'm okay with that. I know when I'm going in the ring that's going to be on TV.
Yeah. Well, you give as good as you got, though, Bob. You certainly did that much. I don't think he was expecting that. I think you had him uncomfortable halfway through. He was like, "Damn, he's giving it back." You just kept laughing at him and whatnot.
Yeah, it's quite funny because I mean, that's no, you know, and you'll get that sometimes on even on my Twitter, you'll have people that will show up and they'll say, "Look at your losing." Yeah, okay. Look, Mirko Cro Cop punched you in the eye and you were crying. Yeah, at the thought of losing one of my eyes and eyesight, I was crying. Yes, I was. Let's think about it. Something gave me pain. I almost lost my eyesight, and it was a puncture directly to the eyeball, and it was tearing. Oh my goodness! News at 11. So unusual.
Well, I feel like he could have made his point without showing the footage, to be honest with you. I know you said it's out there, everyone can see it, but it wasn't just showing it. He, put it together to mock you, let's be honest.
That's right.
You know, he could have made his point. He could have asked you the question, which he did. He still didn't leave it alone. He still carried on. And
right.
He seemed to get worse and worse and worse. He went from asking to accusing you. You know, and then he blatantly said, "You throw fights. You throw fights, Bob. You told me." You didn't tell him. You denied that you throw fights. You said
here's the thing.
Hurt and nobody's going to pay your medical bill. That was what
That's right. And the definition of throwing fights, well, you know, in my line of work, we just call that a promoter. And thus far, I've been unsuccessful at throwing any fights. They're the last ones who they're bringing me in. You know, no, I'm no putting on any fights. Dude, they're telling Bob to come in. So you're right. So hey, if the last thing I'm doing is holding a gun to any promoter's head and saying, hire Bob. The last thing my fans are doing is saying, well, we will. Here's the last thing that my fans are going to say is, put Bob in, we will show up, or if no, we'll just watch him on YouTube, we'll watch the movies, and we'll just get our Sapp time that way, period. That's just how it goes. So, and you know what? When you're able to have sincerity and have the loving and kindness of an entire country and the respect from millions of people around the world for what you've done, and they recognize that, then you will truly understand the true living, the true life, and really enjoying. And it's just so sad to see that, you know, somebody wanting to promote hatred over that. That's just so silly. You know, I mean, come on, the question is, what did he actually think I was going to do? Did he actually think promoters were going to just watch all that MMA Hour and stop hiring me? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what did he think was going to happen?
Well, we know you're a patient guy, Bob, but you must have been to put up with that shit. Was it starting to get a little tedious when he kept repeating the same, you know, he's trying to drive home that, you know, he was throwing fights?
Bob sucks is what he wanted to do.
It's what?
Know? He wanted to say, Bob is terrible, Bob sucks, he's so bad, this. That was his whole point of the interview, which was ridiculous. Meanwhile, I'm looking at my UFC royalty contract for the video game. So, as this loser Bob Sapp's been in the UFC video games. He's been in the other EAS video game. He's been in slot machines, video games all around the world and in Japan. And you're telling me that this guy is terrible and you're just as good? Say what? Then he said, you know, record. He had no idea even I did music and how many musics and albums and whatever I've sold or commercials. I mean, it's just so silly. You know, it's just silly.
Did you think he was clutching at straws throughout the interview as well, Bob?
You know, he was what you have a tendency to get is Ariel wanting to just display anything that everyone has already seen or already know and say how bad it is.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. As you get older, your body will weaken. You will have a tendency to take on more injuries and more sickness. Thus, you will need more money or income or revenue stream or having saved your money in order to prepare for this. This is far from something that's unexpected. So, guess what? Pointing out that I'm older or, hey, that I've lost or something, that's I mean, hey, I guess I can sell it. I mean, it worked for Batman, right? The Dark Knight. I've never known a Dark Knight. I used to call that daylight. So you know, hey, if you want to sell the obvious, go ahead. You know, I just think it's kind of silly.
You know what? I just think Ariel's jealous that you make more money.
Oh, you know, that's a really great thing that you say, because one thing that he said is, how much money do you make a fight? Oh my gosh, $40,000. Oh my goodness, there's guys that are in UFC and they're not making that. I mean, how is that my problem? You know, that's If anything, that's Dana White that's doing, or the Fertitta brothers that's doing, hey, I guess great business, because the fighters are non-complaining, you know, and honestly, if they have no idea what they're going to do with the money in the first place, you know, I guess nobody's going to give it to them, and they're not. Hey, the last thing they're doing is fighting for it, right? They're fighting for Ariel Helwani or somebody to say, hey, look how great you are. So, you know, I guess that's the way they want to handle their business. So that's great for them. I just think that there's just a little better way to be going, and you know, instead of doing that.
He's jealous that you make more money. I'm telling you now.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, and I believe that he also, more than that, I think he's jealous for the things that he would like to have. However, it's quite funny, right? Because if you look on his Twitter, he says he's a father. What's that got to do with your reporting? mean, what's that got to do with it? So, hey, he can say, I'm a male. I breathe, I eat. So, I mean, look, where's that mover and a shaker? If that's so important to you, that's no bleeding MMA. So what's that got to do? So leave that out of it, Mr. Journalism all the time guy. So let's see a little more of the human element of this father by saying, I need to teach the masses. I need to show by example and lead and let this and create and help create something that's great and make it even greater. If you look at my videos, I do some quotes from Einstein and from Mel. I think it's Mel Gibson from that movie. What's that movie? With the Aztec warriors and all of that good stuff. You can look through and look at those quotes, and that's the reason why I said look at Einstein. They said, what's so genius about making something more violent? Come on. I mean, seriously, we going. Is it really about? Let's think about it. If it's all about the fight and what the fighters are doing there in the ring, what's going on with the entrances and nicknames? I mean, what's going on with that? I mean, come on, seriously. So, I mean, let's just understand the business for what it is and make it an entertaining and enjoyment business and grasp and capture all of the greatness that's going on and put down the things that are doing so bad and change the things that are bad and make them into something that's great. However, very few, I guess, many people may agree with me, but very few are wanting to take the steps, and they're just kind of blocked within themselves on doing it. They think that, how many people tell me, hey, but you have a name? What? How do you think I got this?
Well, I have to bring this up, Bob. In the interview, Ariel mentioned that stop sticking it to him. and then he proceeded to, ask you if you wanted to make love to him.
That was, wasn't that quite fun? Because, he was talking about, hey, you're giving me the stick, and then,
he wanted your stick.
And it was a really, that was quite funny because that's when I started having fun. Once I caught on with, okay, this guy's just doing negativity. I just went on ahead and just did the whole negativity right. I had fun with it. I enjoyed it.
You sounded like you was.
I started just having a great time with it because he started getting back at himself. So at the end he says, I have no idea why you're acting so stupid. I said, so I guess you know that I'm acting then, huh? Wonder how that works. And that completely shut him up. And he was like, well, I have no idea. I have. Yeah. Okay. So then you want to do some journalism? You want to talk, or you want to just sit back over here and do some want to sell this hatred? You want to I'm all about making fun instead of hate. I mean, they can come on here and my friends do it all the time, and my fans do it all the time. We have a great time with it. They tease me about my losses. They tease me about my wins. They tease me about everything, and we have a great time with it. Because it's funny, and that's what it's meant to be. There's none of them are taking it so serious to where they're losing sleep over it. I mean, some of these fans actually wrote me, and they said, I could never sell my integrity. What? Well, no one's asking you to sell your integrity. No one's asking you to do anything. However, that's great. You can never sell your integrity because I was never offering to buy it. You've got to actually understand the position that, you find yourself in and that who you are, and the last thing I'm doing. And I have had some fighters come up and say, hey, Bob, you should, there's no need for you to give your money away to the fans. There's no way for you to fly your fans and have them be a cornerman. There's no way you should do this stuff. There's no way. What you should do is just take it all for yourself. Well, I have taken some for myself. The problem is the more I seem to be giving, the more I seem to be receiving. So now I've just decided to say, okay, you guys give, I give back. You give, I give back. You give, I give back. We're just going to do that. And you know what? It's really worked. yeah, I'm really still having a great time, and I assure you, I'm having more fun than Ariel. Will I still experience some loss? Will I still experience some hardships in my life?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, and I will have fans and friends to turn to. Will I turn to some hatred and kicking somebody when they're down and saying, haha, we saw you lose. That's the turtle position. No, we're never going to do that to somebody that's already down. I mean, that's so silly. And on top of it, no MMA. Are you allowed to fight when the fighter is down and no longer displaying any type of fighting? No. So that's even far from even what MMA teaches. So what he is doing already is giving a wrong message that even is against what he's supposed to be standing for.
Well, he's one of the guys, when there's a late stoppage, he's there with his microphone complaining, why was that a late stoppage, you know?
Yeah. So see, he just wants to kind of jump back and forth, you know.
Well, let's try and move away from that 2012 interview. Now,
yep.
if you could go back and do that interview again, obviously he caught you by surprise. He knew beforehand, but obviously, you know,
That's right.
you was walking in blind. What would you change from that interview? The way you
I just simply would.
yourself?
I just would never do it. I just would say because there's nothing that I need. There's no revenue that has increased in my life since I did the Ariel Helwani show. There's no negativity that has increased in my life since I've done the Ariel Helwani show. There's nothing. And I'm still fine. And on top of it, the worst thing about it is a lot of the fighters that have been on his show that's done it, they've suffered big time losses financially, big time losses in their life, and all of that stuff. And none of that stuff has even been discussed or handled or anything. I mean, come on, I'm the only MMA guy that's got to give money out to the fighters that got hurt, and yet I'm the guy that's terrible. You know, I'm the only one that's gonna you know, help a lady from losing her house. I mean, come on, guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's far from what Japan teaches. That's far from what the MMA teaches. That's far from what Brazil even teaches. I guess that's just an American culture thing, maybe. I have no idea. That's just stupid.
Well, much respect to you, Bob. I'm glad we can give you the chance to give your side of the story and how much you help people. Well, you spoke about fun before, Bob. Let's move on to the MMA mindless mouth of Ariel Helwani. That was a parody video that you made.
Yes.
For the listeners at home, you basically took clips from your interview with Ariel and poked a little fun back at him. First off, how fun was that for you, Bob?
That was a blast. And, you know, it was a great moment for letting all the fans know, because let them know, hey, everything's okay. We did have some scary moments in there, okay? Because when I talked with my manager and Mike Hogan, we had to really decide if we should do those parody videos, because we thought there was going to my fans were so angry at what Ariel done. There was just so much. They started to want to talk they felt that to get back at everything that has been wrong to them in MMA, everything that they've seen happen to their fighters, to their loved ones, that Ariel is doing that saying hate to the wrong person. So we really thought that they were going to do something naughty to him. So we had a moment of whether we should do this. And then, you know, my manager, Mike, said, it's going to be okay, Bobby. Your fans are going to be all right. You know, they will know more of that, hey, you're okay, by making these videos than if you were to never make them and say something, because they were really going to do something naughty to him. And, you know, and I felt so afraid I was like, are you joking? You know, are you really going to do this? Are you kidding? You know, I mean, all in that name of hatred for that. I mean, it's so silly. You know what I mean? And so finally, that video was kind of allowing me to have some fun with that, you know, and to show the fans, hey, listen, the Beast is okay, Bob's okay, guys. You know, I'm fine. You know.
Well, I certainly enjoyed it, Bob, and I loved the ego belt too. Well, the EGO belt. I put it on the video. Did you make that yourself, Bob?
Yeah, yes, I did, and so, you know, I was letting them know, you know, and that was a part of that I also did a commercial there where I said money insurance when you earn more than respect. And, and they just, look, this respect and you got my respect and, the best fight of the night and, the best things in life are for free and all that stuff. You know what? There comes a time in your life, in a man's life, that you got to put the toys away and live in real reality. I'm saying no Bitcoins here. I'm talking about none of these imaginary, hey, I've got all this cash because everybody says so deal. I'm talking about really setting forth, having a plan, and understanding what you would do with this plan in life to enlighten yourself from the load of stress from, I got no money and look what I did and I got to sell this stuff and I got all this injuries for what? That you have to make a decision and say, no me. And I did, say a lot of things where, if you want to do things for ego, if you want to do things to make you feel good, to do all of this excitement and adventure, how you can do that, and there's tremendous, every country offers you ways on how to do that. And just for MMA, this is for entertainment. This is for us to have a additional revenue stream to the sports entertainment side of it. It's far from, jumping in here and, hey, look at me, I almost lost my eyesight and now I'm blind and crippled, but I got this one fight that everyone says is so great. No, guys, no way. And don't pick that up. That's that fool's gold. Leave it alone.
I love that. Fool's gold. That's very fitting. I like that. It is. Well, you mentioned dolls. Now, we know Ariel. He likes these little UFC dolls on his table. Yes. Them about, he plays with them, don't you? He definitely plays with them.
You know what? And what he does is he plays that I will be this fighter. I've won. Look at this. Look at that. And instead of, and also you have to think about, these are fighters already that have endorsement deals. Those are no contracts. Those are no dolls that Ariel Helwani is putting out. Okay. He is only he's purchasing and he's only displaying that. So from that point, those fighters already have that advertising's already been done, been there, done that. That's it. There's no need to be on the show to do any more of that stuff. You see what I mean? So he's kind of defeating his own self. Playing with the dolls is a way that Ariel Helwani wants to say, hey, watch me play with people, and I think that if I play with people like this, it will be really the reality. No. One is play, the other one is real. Keep it in perspective. And what he's doing when he plays with those plastic dolls, he's actually thinking, see, this is somebody plastic. This is far from a person. This person has they're far from bleeding. They're far from being able to feel. They have no pain. So that is someone who's taken that doll and morphed himself in a reality that is, I'm going to say it's far from something that I would say even virtual, okay? Because when it comes to himself, what's he got? Hey guys, I'm a father. Look at this. No, look at me for my terrible journalism. No, do all of that stuff. However, he's got that doll on there, and he's saying, well, hey, Bob, I'm a fighter too. Well, where's your doll at then, brother? Well, look, I made this cartoon action figure of myself in the background. I mean, come on, man. Yes, do I make well, that's more on that later about the Beast cartoon figure, but I have a feeling that mine is being kind of done by maybe something other than what's just displayed on, on somebody's wannabe show.
Well, in the mindless mouth of Ariel, you actually had some Barbie doll figures and Ken figures, and I think you had a mermaid there. Was that like a piss take, like Ariel the mermaid? Like
That's right. That's exactly right. And so I was saying, we can have some fun with this too. So, hey, if you want to say you're Ariel, well, here's how everyone knows what Ariel is. So that was my point. And hey, if he wants to have fun and think that that name is going to display and hurt, then fine. Okay, here's what Ariel means to us from us growing up. This is how we know the name Ariel. We know it from the Little Mermaid and the fish. Nobody knows it as the mover and shaker of MMA. No, sorry. No. That's far from what we know, And when somebody hears the Beast, we first think of, oh, hey, this is the Beast Dan Severn. Oh, hey, wow. Look at Bob also has this nickname. He's following in a great tradition. Okay? But does Ariel want to follow in a great tradition and say, look at the masses and the children and look at all of this stuff that I'm able to do? No, he wants to display, hatred and stuff. Well, I'm telling you that hatred in MMA and all of that stuff, well, that's going to make you just like that Ariel doll, a fish out of water, or incomplete at that.
If he starts with you again, Bob, are you going to do another video?
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm just basically, that point is, he's never going to be starting anything, and nor will anyone be doing that anymore. I'm pretty much just, I've had some great times with having a wonderful time with doing that. It's just now it's time to lead and show everyone and the fighters and everyone by example as what you do when you have reached a level of success, how you handle this success, how you parlay this success, how you go through and work with this in the fight industry. And that's all about when you hear about me on Twitter, when you hear about, hey, where's the Beast? And you hear about the Beast Project 2014, that's exactly what that is going to be entailing and talking about.
Okay, before we move on from the mindless mouth of Ariel,
yes.
I mentioned the Ego belt. Do you still have that belt?
Let me tell you what.
That's famous now.
You know what? And let me tell you something. I lost that belt years ago.
No. I was hoping you could send it to me.
Oh, boy. I hope you never pick it up. So
okay, let's move on to these arm wrestling matches you've been having, Bob. I've noticed them on YouTube. You've had arm wrestling matches against Fedor, Alistair Overeem,
yes.
How did this all come about?
Mark Hunt, we got to remember Mark Hunt. You
had Mark Hunt too? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Mark Hunt too? Wow.
Yes.
How did this come about, Bob?
In Japan, and they want to see for Japan, the entire MMA is actually a combination of everything from mixed martial arts on how you handle your defenses, how you proceed forward in the media, and how you display this craft of art among the masses. And that entails everything. That can entail cooking. How are you able to cook on this schedule and keep your lean muscle mass and keep yourself injury free? How are you able to enjoy anything from even arm wrestling or video games? How are you able to do that and still have and guess what? In Japan, they actually will pay you for it and enjoy watching you for it because they respect what you're doing, and that's what they've done. So now I've actually was able to do this. That's the second time I was on that show, and I ended up getting first both times for 2 years in a row. And for me, that's kind of my dedication to, Gary Goodrich, because he was so great at doing that arm wrestling. And so that kind of, I said, what better, arms to kind of to fill and to really enjoy. And that's how I was able to make the decision to do even the arm wrestling. And I actually spoke to Gary about it, and we had a great time and a great laugh. And I think he actually did a little bit of arm wrestling right after I did that last show, and which I went against one of the best MMA fighters ever in the history, Fedor, Emilio Fedor.
Yeah. He wasn't going down without a fight. He was fighting on. He was.
When he lost.
If
you see him, he actually literally almost bent his entire wrist
Yeah.
over, so he was going nowhere. He really had to pull his hand out of there. That's how dedicated he was. And so he even made that decision. He was like, "Well, there's no need for me to break my wrist," but he took it to the point to where he pushed the threshold as far in as well as medically and financially and physically, it was worth the damage or the assessment for him to do. Okay, so I mean, he even used some common sense on that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
did he stay in there and say, "Let Bob break my wrist"? No. And should he? No. I mean, that's so stupid.
So you're the champion right now. You're the arm wrestling champion.
I am 2 years in a row, arm wrestling champion
Awesome.
all over
Are you
the
going to
world.
try and make it free?
It's a great question, and they're asking me about it, and next year we'll just have to wait and see if the Beast is still gonna be doing some of that arm wrestling. I really have a great time and just really enjoying Japan and doing everything there is in Japan and really around the world. So I'm having decided to even have more of even more great time, a funner time, a bester time. I mean, this is just it's the best, and and along with that is, hey, I get to really enjoy the hard work that I put in. This is true relaxation, true peace on every level, and I've managed to achieve this, and that's really from all the great fans and great support and all of that wonderful stuff. I mean, and you know what, and if it's so easy to do, any MMA fighter, let's say if you get over there and have this, let's see if you can establish a record that's either winning or losing, just to total up my losses for MMA. Let's see if anyone's able to do that, and I'm sure you're going to see that very few, if anybody's going to be able to do it.
Well, you have a huge fan base over in Japan. You mentioned it before. You've done wrestling over there. You've done sumo. You've, the arm wrestling now. You're literally a superstar in Japan.
Yeah, and you know what? And that brand, and what's so funny is that brand actually brings me all around the world. And so I am known as Bob the Beast, who is famous in Japan, and I am fine with that. And that takes me all around the world, and I'll wear that with honor. And I always say, hey, it's in everybody's DNA is Japanese because we all bleed red. So I enjoy it, and I love it, and it's quite funny, right? Because I'm African American over here from America, and I am known for being famous in Japan. I've done Hollywood movies. I'm still known for being famous in Japan. I've won and lost fights. I'm known for being famous in Japan. Mike Tyson says, hey, I want to fight Bob Sapp. I'm known for being famous in Japan. There is nothing that is in my soul, that is in my DNA, that's going to be there forever. Okay, so that's never leaving, and that's just how it goes. And you know what? And guess what? Japan is ready for anybody like that. And you got to drop that hate in order to do it. So if you're following, Ariel to whatever, go ahead and see where that gets you. See where that ends up. See where that ends up taking you.
Do you think your rise in Japan started with pride?
Yeah, and I think K1, of course, is the first one who gave me the contract. I happened to fight for K1 and Pride, so it's a real big question, as to where my career started. I can just tell you, I'm so happy. I actually say less that my career started than my life, because that changed my entire viewpoint, my whole life, every bit of ounce of my knowledge and everything. And really, you got to get out and learn another culture and learn somebody else before you start doing a lot of the naughty stuff that you think that makes you think that everything's so great. And so if you're and usually that's a lot of USA culture that does that kind of naughty stuff, and they just think, oh, well, look, we're so great, we have never earned anything, but look, that's what Ariel wants to do, right? I mean, that's what look, I got the Wikipedia page, and look, nobody's looking at your little MMA shows that Bob is fighting in. Wait a minute, why are you putting me on the show then? Huh?
I get what Ariel was getting at, but you made the statement that you wasn't, and I think you just should have shown a little bit more respect for that, and shown a little bit more respect for your history in the sport.
Right.
That's as far as I go on, Ariel. Now you mentioned Mike Tyson. Why didn't that fight happen, by the way? Because he got into the ring. There's a
He did.
huge tear up.
In plain and simple, what happened is just in Japan, you've got to go past the immigration and stuff. So they're really giving him a hard time about his past history and stuff. So that just was unable to kind of go through that. So and that's from what I was told. So that's and hey, let's remember you're talking about a company, K1, that was once around doing so many great things that did some rather naughty things. So whether that's true or untrue, we'll really never know. We just know the fact that it never happened. And the big question is who would have won had we gotten a ring? Mike, I would have knocked you out.
Oh, that would have been huge, Bob. That would have been a massive fight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I even think that you and Kimbo Slice would be huge, too.
Yes, I totally agree. And that's another guy that I really look up to and everything else. I wish, I was able to even meet him. I never even met him to say, how awesome I thought everything that he did and everything was and everything else like that.
He took a lot of flack in this sport, but I think he did. He gave a good account for himself, and he even went on the Ultimate Fighter, which he really didn't have to do, because let's be honest, he could make a paycheck anywhere from boxing, MMA, and he went on to the Ultimate Fighter. There was rumours he got paid, but, he didn't have to do that. He showed a lot of character there.
He did, that's right. And you know what? And he's somebody that shows you, hey, that is MMA. Being able to take something, mix it in there, throw it in there, get it, mix it up, and display your art to the masses. MMA, come on, guys. That's what he's doing. He's already shown you that's what it is. It's the entire element of combat entertainment itself. That is combat entertainment, guys. Come on. This is it. There's nothing else other than that. This is, you want to go back through in some organizations, this guy is the champion, this is this, out of 7 billion people in the world, with you being able to do anything in every rule to whatever, how are you going to say that person is really mega number one? And if he is, let's see, you give him even 1% of that revenue that somebody number one in the world is going to get. Okay, let's think about it. There's 7 billion people on the planet. Let's see you do that, guys. Come on. Let's look at it for what it is and take it and say, okay, for this moment, I'm having a great time. For what's being displayed among the masses and arts, I'm having a great time. Let me be smart about it, because I know as I get older, my times are a-changing.
Well, let's go back to the arm wrestling for a second. Now, we talked about Fedor. There was another big guy, I mentioned him, Alistair Overeem, absolutely huge, He's probably nearly on par with you with the muscles. You actually finished him with ease. I was licking my lips. I was like, damn, this is going to be a tough one. Who's going to win this? And Alistair went down within seconds. You demolished him.
Yeah,
Was you shocked?
You know what? And it's sometimes your adrenaline can get going, and and it's just on that day, that's the blessings and luck kind of hit me, and it was just like, okay, I can really, this strength came out, and sometimes the beast within to come out.
The beast came out that day.
You need to plug in your phone. Yeah, so that was really great. So that was one of the best highlights, and you know what? In Alistair, we started laughing about it, man. We went backstage and we just started cracking up, man. And Alistair is awesome, and all the fighters that I've even met, they've come through, and I will say that they've shown me so much respect, and same thing with the promoters and everything else. They've gotten disappointed, and they may have been angry that Bob maybe have yet to show up and do the whole entire fight for taking damage in what their perception was. However, they are more than happy and more than satisfied with No, this is no goes to the phone, right? So they're more than happy and more than satisfied with their attendance, that the viewerships, and they're more than happy and more than satisfied with all of the revenue that they've been able to bring in. And same thing with the fighters. The fighters tell me right off of the bat, Bob, the reason why I am here, the reason why I'm here is because you are here. That's the only reason why I came to this promotion. It's the only reason why I decided to fight. And I get that everywhere and anywhere that I am showing up to fight, where I'm showing up to an event. That is the reality. That is nothing virtual. That is something that you have to see. That is something you have to be there. That is something you have to understand. And it's real easy. Take American Twitter and look through there, and you can see hatred, and very few followers or anyone that is saying anything that is something that is nice. And then look at all the Japanese and around the world Twitters. Yeah. Look through and put that Google on. Take your Google translator and translate it. Have someone in Japanese translate it. See what it says. Bet you it says none of that hatred stuff.
Well, we know Bob Sapp is in high demand. What's going to be next for you in 2014, Bob?
Yeah, well, 2014, well, that's Beast Project 2014. So what will happen here in a few days, there's going to be, I will return, the Beast will return. However, there a lot of this Twitter following, that's going to, well, I'm going to be absent for a while. It's about the next level, the next evolution of the Beast. And, and it's taken me almost 12 years to figure out the message from Japan. However, I did figure it out. And it did take the helping from some great leaders, some great entrepreneurs, some great people here in the United States and around the world that had to come through and say, Bob, look at the full picture, do the full picture. And that's exactly what I'm doing for Project 2014. It's awesome. It's great. And now the Beast, who's been leading the fighters, will actually lead the fighters in 2014. So if anyone's had questions, they've wondering how do I put this fight stuff together? How do I become a multi-millionaire in any entertainment industry? Why is it Bob's only worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken in his entire life for a resume? And ever since after college, he's made $1 million in every job. I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you via the traditional way that, everything that's been taught here, even in Japan, believe it or not. And so that's just a brief kind of highlight on that. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's going to be pretty quick. So because I did hit #1 in commercials in 2013. So in 2014, you can look to see me break some more world records. And I already know one that's going to be broken immediately here in April. So we'll take a look at that. So the Beast will continue, and it's just going to be more of an evolution type thing.
What record is going to be broken, Bob?
So we're just going to have to wait and see this one, but I assure you.
Oh, that's a teaser. That's a teaser, Bob.
Yes, and it's never been done before. So guess what? The Beast will be the first one to do it. Let's see if that happens. Let's throw this out here. Let's see if any MMA guy in the UFC, any MMA guy in the world will do the same thing for their major league sport. Let's see.
Wow.
So let's see if they do the same thing. Let's see if that ever happens in the US. Let's see if that ever happens in the UK. Let's see if that ever happens again in the country of Japan. Let's see it. And you know what? Let's see if Ariel Helwani will do it. Let's see it. And let's see if that ever happens. Okay. So I guarantee you, it's going to be some years till you see anybody doing that. But hey, you're a mover and a shaker.
Well, Bob, you got me intrigued now, but I won't push you any further on this.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining me today. Anyway, Bob, is there anything you want to say to your fans or our listeners before we go?
Yes, absolutely. The Beast, Project 2014. Oh, this one's great because I finally put it all together. And that's thanks to everyone, especially to Japan. Arigato gozaimasu.
From MMA Crips Fighting Talk, thank you for watching.